guest has 2 decades of hands-on experience in personal and business growth. He's also hosted his own TV show and is a high-performance athlete with an Olympic gold medal in rowing. He's competed for nearly 20 years as both a high-performance rower and a coach in both the USA and Canada. He's here to talk about his powerful new book, All In With Love: My Journey to the Hero Within. This book is amazing because it chronicles his life experiences and accomplishments, as well as showcases how he turned poor choices and failure into a recipe for personal growth. Please welcome James Gardiner. How are you?
Hey, Jillian, I am fantastic. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited that you're here because I feel like this is a full circle moment because you were my first guest when we started 3 years ago. So it's so cool to see your growth from where we were at before. I mean, writing a book, that's an amazing accomplishment. So cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been an amazing experience for sure.
Yeah, let's talk about books are huge undertaking. So what drove your decision to write this book?
You have a creative spirit in me that needed to get out. And honestly, I've lived a very colorful, rich life full of some amazing experiences and successes, and also a lot of pitfalls and self-discovery moments. I just felt like it was time for me to share that, to guide everybody back to reconnecting to their inner child, to the younger self.
That's so cool. And here's the thing that you did that something is different from a traditional book publishing is that you used crowdfunding to publish your book.
Mm.
So tell me how that works because that whole process of crowdfunding is fascinating.
Yeah, to be honest, I said, well, let's, marketing community. I mean, obviously we'll dive into some marketing, but I have a community and I have people that follow me with the work I do as a coach and a business developer and all that stuff. And during the writing process, I was sharing the writing journey and I was sharing how it all came together. And I noticed that I began to get a lot more engagement and traction into my community and in my posts, in the work that I do. I was getting clients from it, coaching clients just from talking about my book journey. And so I thought I had enough visibility out there and was very, white hot focused on what the backbone of the book is and the why of the book, that I thought it would resonate with people. And so I put a crowdfunding program together to raise money for working with a publisher to get the book published. And I chose Indiegogo, which is one of a handful of platforms out there that you can utilize. And it was an amazing experience. It really was. It was great for anyone out there that's never really experienced it. It's a platform you can it's all set up and you just drop in your stuff and you go and you build a campaign and then the rest is up to you, me, others to do the marketing and share that out and draw people back to support you.
That is so cool. So
Yeah.
then do you essentially set it up for a specific time frame? Do you say, okay, this is the start date, we're going to push to reach this goal within a certain amount of time?
Yeah. So the way it works is you have a couple of options. You can do a hard time frame. You can be an open-ended journey. I mean, you can just keep raising money and crowdfunding for an open-ended journey. For me, I chose 6 weeks. So I had a 6-week window. I need to raise the money. The end of it was March 31st. So it was February 15th, March 31st, 6 weeks to raise the necessary funds to do that. So I chose the time window. And then it was just a big clock, sitting in my wall, just like, okay, here we go. Week 1, week 2, week 3, and showing up, delivering content. It's not always about the ask, right? It's about the story, in which we'll get into the taking someone on a journey and connecting them to the why. In my case, the why the book needed to see the light of day.
Wow. So you set up this campaign, then did you use social media or an email list? Like, how did you get it out to your followers, the people that wanted to support you? How did you get them to respond back?
Yeah, great question. I think that depends on the person. For me, I live my life out on camera. I do a lot of interviews, podcasts, hosting, and so forth. So I use social media exclusively. And I shared, so I had a very regimented 6 week. I was on every day. I was sharing different facets of posts. So it wasn't like the same content going out at every day. But during any given day, I probably had 4 or 5 different posts going out or reach outs and so forth. And the one thing that I did though, Jillian, and I say this to everybody, I went back old school. So out of everyone that purchased the book or were donated to the crowdfunding campaign to get their pre-sale copy, I reached out to. I was doing voice memos. I picked up the phone. I wasn't doing the templated email response, and putting in a different name. I connected to people that I haven't connected to in 30 years from high school. And I was like, I got this book. I've been reliving this high school stuff and talking about this and sharing it. It took a lot of work, and the proof is in the pudding.
I would say so. So now when you decided which social media channels you were going to blast this out, was it mostly on Facebook and Instagram? Because I know you're super active on those channels, or did you choose one, or did you just blast it out all over?
Well, yeah, I operate mostly on Instagram and Facebook for sure. LinkedIn secondary, but definitely Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, I was like a mad scientist. I was blowing stuff out on both, and then I blow something out on Instagram and then share it on Facebook the next day. And or I was kind of switching around. And I think for me the most important thing is I was consistent. B, the energy was there, so there was a great awareness of what I was doing, and whether or not someone saw an ad, they may have contributed 4 weeks down the road or 3 weeks down the road. And that was the beauty of it, and the magic of it is sometimes I'd wake up in the morning and I have all these contributions of people that I might have spoken to 2 weeks ago or didn't even expect. And I think it's about the heart-led energy of just showing up and sharing to be of service. Yes, I was trying to raise money for a book with the foundation that this book can really impact people's lives.
Well, and that's what they received, right? So, and I'm not super familiar with the crowdfunding, but when they pledge money to help you reach your goal, in exchange for that, you give them a book. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so any crowdfunding, you can build up what your deliverables
Oh,
are.
okay.
Okay, so in my case, just to give you an example, because I do a lot of coaching, I had 5 different options that people could come and donate. One would be a signed memo, personal memorized thing from myself on the book, on the paperback. Then for certain dollars more, it would be a hard copy. Then it would be, or third would be a paperback and a 90-minute coaching session, and so forth. I did. And then I had some corporate ones. So big ticket items where I'd go in and do a keynote. And they'd get X number of books for their staff members and things like that. So I presented 5 unique deliverables that worked really well for me. Right.
That's interesting because I would have never, you hear all these things about like people like influencers starting like Patreons and, things like that where they have certain levels. And it's very similar to the crowdsourcing, which just makes total sense because there's so many people out there that want to support you in this journey. They're excited for you and they're excited to read your book because there's so much cool stuff in it. But tell me, like, okay, so what's the next step? So you've reached your goal. You've got the book written. What type of marketing is required for releasing a book? Like, how do you get it out to the marketplace? Of course, you've got a plan set up for everybody that has helped you reach your goal, but how do you get it out to everybody else?
Well, in my route, I had the publisher. So with the successful crowdfunding, then I signed an agreement with Friesen Press here in Canada. And so then I began to work with their team to bring it to light. So, getting it published, getting it edited, working on the cover design, illustrations, all of that. Then they in turn helped me get it established in booksellers all over the world. So there's Amazon, there's, Kindle, there's Nook, there's Barnes and Noble, Chapters, In-Store, you name it. And then Friesen Press, which is the largest publisher here in Canada, they also have their own ordering. So people can order it, in multiple places. So they came in and set that up. Now, what I will say about my journey, because I do this for a living, being on with you and talking and speaking and so forth, as an author, I have something in my case that a lot of authors don't have. They don't know how to market the book, right? And so the successful crowdfunding campaign is a really great example of rinse and repeat to a degree. Sharing stories now. It's launching on the 29th of August. And now it's about sharing insight, getting reviews. I've gotten a handful of 5-star reviews, sharing those reviews, and just again building this slow-moving freight train that is this unique, entertaining story about the simplicity of getting back to our younger self.
Now, when you started out this process, so when you made the decision to say we're going to go the crowdfunding route, what was it like, the planning process prior to that? So I know you mentioned that you were on social media every day, you were pumping out content. What was the planning process like? Did you have to give yourself 6 months, or how did you line all that out? Because I feel like that is something that you definitely have to be prepared for, and you got to plan for, because you have to be able to give things to people so that way it draws them in and is like, I need to know more about this book. What was that process like?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it might be a little bit different than someone else. Again, I have been sharing and growing my community and sharing to the community for the year and a half, almost 2 years leading up to the campaign.
Wow.
So slowly, everyone that came in from podcasts in my world and coaching clients, they all knew I was writing a book. And so then they would start to see things online as I was sharing that journey, as well as the work that I do for others. So I had that going. In terms of the campaign, though, absolutely. I went into, again, mad scientist mode. I had my spreadsheets. I had my planning of what posts were here, time. I went, detail to the 10th degree here to at least create the structure of how I was going to do it. Because I was actually I didn't know what to do. I'm like, how do I do this? How do I maximize? I've never raised money before like this. So I built a 2-week kind of lead up to the 6-week campaign. And I had all my I's dotted and T's crossed. I knew what I was going to do. And, that's the beauty of anything. When you structure something, once you have it and you start implementing, then you get that flow state. And I was, by week 2 of the 6 weeks, I didn't have to look at the spreadsheet anymore. I knew what was going on. I was posting, I was sharing, I was tagging, I was repurposing stuff, having some fun with it, and just sharing the journey, right? Because people, here's the thing, right? In business, and you know this, Jillian, at the end of the day, people are buying Jillian. People want to work with you. People want to work with James Gardiner. They want to buy a book because of me, right? Yeah, the book might have some really great, entertaining stories, but there's some relatability to me, and that's really what you got to share.
I think that that's so important, because I've seen a shift of like social media, that it's, people were creating these basically fictitious lives about how awesome their lives were. And I feel that we were starting to see this switch back to people want to connect with the real people. They want to see the mistakes, because we all make mistakes. I mean, that's life. That's what happens. And I think that realness and that authenticity comes through, especially when you're posting every single day in multiple different areas, and people can see that. They can feel that you're genuine, and that they know that these stories are amazing and can change their lives. And by being so present on social media, that really shows people who you are, what you're like, what your personality is like. And if they haven't worked with you before, now they're like, I want to work with you even more than I did before.
Right. Right. I love that. And you're absolutely right. It's about realism. There's definitely a shift happening for sure. And that could be the cornerstone of why I was successful. Is I, as a conscious male, I'm very emotionally accessible. And when I was sharing content and doing live readings during that campaign, there were times where I was, I had tears coming down my cheeks, right? And that's how I show up. It's not all rainbows and unicorns, and I think there's something to that for everybody.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find this book?
Yeah. Well, when this airs, it'll be out there
I know.
all over the world. So first and foremost, people can go to my website, theherowithin.ca. There's information about me. There's a lot of information about the book. There are links there to almost every place that you can get the book. If you want it on Amazon, it's there. If you want it on Nook or Kobo or Google Play, Apple Book, you name it, it's there. It will be in bookstores, physical bookstores like Barnes & Noble's, Chapters, Indigo, towards the end of September, beginning of October, because they have to actually order the books and get them in. And just Google it. It'll be out there for sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And for anyone listening who has already ordered the book, make sure that you leave a review because those are huge. Definitely want to make sure that we get that out there so we can push it out to more people, because I think it's so important that people read this book and really are able to connect. And what's the best place to connect with you?
Sure. Definitely either Instagram or Facebook at James Gardiner. On Instagram, you'll go right to me. Obviously, theherowithin.ca. You can reach me there. My email is james@theherowithin.ca. Feel free to email me. Feel free to connect on social. I'm all about community. This is about spreading the love, our younger selves to the world, which I think is really needed in this day and age.
Absolutely. Now, one last question for you. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a small business owner if they are thinking like, I see a book in my future? What's something that you're like, this is super important. Make sure you follow this piece of advice.
Yeah, great question. For anyone out there that wants to do something, book, business, relationships, whatever it is, it has to be connected to your truth. You have to uncover who you really are at your core essence. And I truly believe that is connecting back to your younger self. And if you are doing that, then your business, whatever it is you want to create, is coming from a selfless, innocent curiosity, artistic, loving, no judgment, no expectation place of existence. And it's a beautiful thing. So bring your inner child with you to work, to a relationship, to an adventure, whatever it is, he or she should be there with you. And I feel you will increase your units of happiness tenfold.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us. I appreciate it. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see what this book does, the lives that it changes. It's going to be amazing. So thank you again so much for spending time with us today.
Jillian, I bless you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.